everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Anthony and Red's Top 10. I am your co-host, Red the Fox, and I am Anthony Gamer. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss the top 10 Parker Brothers games for the Atari 2600. For those of you not in the know, Parker Brothers is mostly well known for making board games. It wasn't until the early 80s when they decided to jump on the video game bandwagon there, because at the time it was a very lucrative place to get into. That's correct. And they were known for making some pretty cool video games, many of them ports of arcade games, and they also made some of their own. However, another thing that they were known for was for making some promises they weren't able to keep. In other words, they would advertise some games in their catalogs, and those games would never see the light of day. Yeah, on top of that, they would also show these screenshots that would not look anything like the finished product in a lot of instances. Yeah, but and again, we can't always put the blame totally on them because the video game crash of 83 and 84 hit a lot of the third-party game companies pretty hard. So, you can't always put the blame completely on them. Although, to be honest with you, you kind of do have to blame them for the fact that James Bond 007 game looked pretty cool from the advertisement in the catalog, and what we got was a poor man's Moon Patrol. That's one way of putting it. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the games. Are you ready, Red? Oh yeah, Red is ready. Wait, hold it. What's the matter? We can't start yet. How come? You forgot the disclaimer. Oh yeah, thank you. Our usual disclaimer is that we mean absolutely no disrespect from this video. These are simply our opinions, and we're not saying that we are right and you are wrong or anything like that. These are simply our opinions, and we base this top 10 list on not only about graphics, but also the fun factor. So if your opinion is not the same as ours, that is totally your right. And again, we mean absolutely no disrespect whatsoever. Okay, Red, are you ready now? Oh yeah, now I'm ready. Okay, so let's begin the top 10 Parker Brothers games for the Atari 2600. Now at the number 10 spot, we have Strawberry Shortcake Musical Matchups. This was programmed by Don Stockbridge. Now you gotta really give Parker Brothers credit for trying to reach out to a different audience, right? Because if you think about it, most video games are kind of geared towards boys, and I give them a lot of credit for trying to make a video game for girls. As in this game, you're trying to make the licensed characters of Strawberry Shortcake, and when you get the body parts all correct, they do a little dance and it says their name at the bottom. Although it can be kind of fun sometimes to mix and match and have one part of one and a different part and really make the song sound funky, but I'm sure girls of all ages really enjoyed this game back in the day. And at the number 9 spot, we have another licensed title with G.I. Joe Cobra Strike. This was programmed by John Emerson. Now, this game was also known as Action Force outside of the U.S. In this game, you are trying to protect the soldiers while trying to shoot at that giant cobra that's shooting at them. This would be the first G.I. Joe game, nowhere near as good as the ones that would come in later years, but yet still a pretty fun game if you can get past the sometimes wonky controls. Overall, though, it's not a bad game, really. And at the next spot, we have Tutankhamun. This is a port of an arcade game, and it was programmed by Dave Eggman. Now, in this game, you are an explorer trying to infiltrate Tutankhamun's pyramid, and you're trying to get the treasures. Unfortunately, there are some different monsters that are trying to stop you, like snakes and other stuff like that, to come out of those things right there where, you gotta shoot them. One of the only complaints I have about this game is you can't shoot up and down, only side to side, which makes the game a lot more challenging. Yep, it sure does. Also, this game was ported out to just about every game system imaginable, including a version that wasn't released for the Odyssey 2, and honestly, that was probably one of the better versions of this game. I think it would be higher up on the list if I was actually any good at it. Oh yeah, I hear you. Next up, we have one of the more bizarre games out there, and this is Amadar. Now, this was originally an arcade game, and this version was programmed by Ed Temple. This one, you're trying to kind of fill in the lines there and make boxes. Kind of at the time, it was a new concept, but it's been done a lot since, like in games like Pepper 2 and stuff like that. But like in one, you're like a gorilla, and these natives are trying to get you. Another one, you're a painter, and you got pigs coming. It's just weird as heck. Yeah, one other interesting aspect is a lot of people didn't even realize this was an arcade game first, as it was kind of an obscure game, much like another game that they did called Sky Skipper, which didn't make the list. But yeah, it was. I think people actually came back after this game came out and kind of sought out the arcade game, and it was ported out other places as well, officially and unofficially, but still quite a fun game, even as bizarre as it is. Next up, we have Montezuma's Revenge. This was programmed by Wickstead Design, whoever that is. This is a pretty neat game. It's a platformer treasure kind of hunting game where you take on the role of Panama Jack, and you are trying to find the treasures of Montezuma, who was the last Aztec ruler. Boy, this game is hard. I've never made it to the treasure room. I know people that have, but yeah, this is a maze game. I mean, it's easy to get lost. They give you plenty of lives. I give them credit for that because you're going to spend a lot of them with all the traps and other things. And yeah, like I said, it's kind of like Pitfall gone crazy. That's about the only way I can explain it, but it's a very fun and very challenging game. I just wish I was better at it. And the next game we got there is Frogger 2, 3 Deep. I said that because they seem like they stretched the 3. Anyway, this was a console exclusive. This one was not an arcade game like the original Frogger, and it was programmed by Mark Lesser. In this game, you got 3 screens to jump across instead of just one like the original game. It's a pretty fun, challenging game, especially for folks that think that they mastered the original Frogger. Let's see if you're up to the challenge of this one here. Next up, we have an arcade favorite. That is Q*bert. This was programmed by Dave Hampton and the graphics by Tom Sloper. In this one, you take on the role of the cute little Q*bert. You're trying to light up the blocks and escape from Quigley and the other bad guys. Really a fun game and a hard one to mess up, which is something that they have not yet done, which is good. But I really enjoyed this game as a kid, and I spent hours and hours and hours playing it, as probably several of you did as well. And next up, we have an arcade standard, and probably a game that's on just about everybody's top 10, Atari 2600 games or video games, period, and that is Frogger. This was originally programmed by Ed English and the sound by David Lampkins. Now, what can you say about this game here? You're a frog trying to cross the road, get to your lily pads. Really just a fun game, and like I said, an arcade standard. People love the song, even though only Japanese people know what the song's about or whatever. But it's one of them iconic, legendary arcade games. And again, it's one that's pretty hard to mess up. Although, to be honest with you, when I did the AVP, there were a couple really messed up versions of it. Yeah, but to be honest, I think most people, ourselves included, just the Atari 2600 is the best of the best. That's just how it is. Oh, totally agree. And at the number 2 spot, we have one of my all-time favorite arcade games, and that is Popeye. This was programmed by Joe Goucher, and like I said, was based on one of my all-time favorite arcade games. I just spent so many quarters on this game in the arcade, and I was so happy when I got it for Christmas. I believe in 1983 or 84. I don't really remember, but oh, I love this game so much. In this one, you are Popeye trying to catch the hearts and then love notes and stuff from Olive while trying to avoid Bluto and the Sea Hag. Now, people want to talk about how ports sometimes weren't that great, but I give Parker Brothers credit for one thing, that they were able to do all three of the levels that were in the arcade. To various degrees, but they did a pretty decent job considering the lack of memory that they had to work with. So a great job on a great arcade game that really holds a special place in my heart. Also, I wanted to add that one of Anthony's earliest video episodes here on this channel was about Popeye. I believe that was number 2, wasn't it? I think so. Yeah, it was a real early one, so that kind of lets you know how much Anthony really, really loves this game. And finally, at the number 1 spot, we have Spider-Man. This wholly original game was programmed by Laura Nikolic, and the sound by David Lampkins. What can you say about this game? Very original. In this one, you are Spider-Man trying to climb to the top of this building and stop the Green Goblin from blowing it up. You got his henchmen in the windows trying to stop you. You gotta get your web at the right spot and climb up, and yeah, it can get pretty challenging, especially in the later levels when you run out of web fluid at a pretty fast pace, but overall, it's a really fun and challenging game. Yep, kind of makes you wonder what that Incredible Hulk game that they had advertised would have been like. As time would go on, they would just have some amazing Spider-Man games, many of which we will review in later episodes. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best ones is the one for the PS4, which I used some of the footage for in the Born to Raise Hell video that I made. But yeah, I remember when I first played this game, I borrowed it from a friend who actually borrowed it from a friend, and I really just enjoyed it. I mean, played it for hours and hours on end. It's one of those games that just really has stood the test of time and has paved the way for other games in the MCU. Well, that brings this episode of Anthony and Red's Top 10 to a close. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Oh yeah, we really enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you did like today's episode, let us know by giving us a great big thumbs up there, and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload any new episodes. So, Anthony, what's going to be our next Top 10? Well, I was thinking while we're on the third-party game company thing, let's go with M Network. Yep, that's a good idea. M Network was the name that Mattel used when they would release Intellivision type games for the Atari 2600. So that's going to be quite interesting. Yep. Well, until next time, this has been Anthony Gamer, and I am Red Fox, and we will see you all in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.